The movie begins in a home that appears to be underwater. The voice of a man named Giles appears, who mentions the story of a princess, the one she loved, and the monster that threatened to tear them apart. Elisa Esposito is a mute woman. She wakes up and gets ready. She makes breakfast and leaves. She lives alone in her apartment but frequently spends time with Giles, her middle-aged bachelor neighbor, who lives next door to her in another small apartment overhead, a local movie theater. She talks to him and watches a dance video on TV. As she leaves for work, she practices those dance steps in the corridor. She takes the bus to get to her work. She works at the Occam Aerospace Research Center as a janitor with her friend Zelda Fuller. Zelda is a quite loud woman who can't stop talking. Mr. Fleming, the head of security, scolds her chatter and then introduces a new team and asset in T4. The vessel is then brought into the facility containing a valuable asset. Mr. Fleming explains the sensitivity of the asset. Elisa goes near the vessel and something bumps against it from inside. She gets scared to see that there is some creature inside the water closed in the vessel. In the morning after work, Giles takes Elisa to his favorite pie shop, where he frequently gets key lime pie. The shop boy tells him that he has seen him in the cafe several times. Elisa doesn't like pie, but Giles enjoys the pie, as well as the conversations he has with the shop's pie guy, whom the closeted homosexual Giles has a crush on. At Giles's home, the two watch TV and dance with their feet. The next day, Elisa performs the same routine before leaving for work. At work, Elisa and Zelda are cleaning a bathroom. Zelda is chatting when Colonel Richard Strickland, who is the security head of the new team, comes in and splashes some water after washing his hands before he uses the urinal. Before leaving, he appreciates chatting with. Elisa sees blood on the sink and is surprised. A while later, the ladies hear a scream coming from another room, and suddenly Strickland emerges with 2 fingers missing from his left hand and blood all over his body. The scientist calls for help as he is losing blood. Zelda takes Elisa away, and the two eat dinner during their break, but Fleming arrives, asking for an emergency. Elisa and Zelda must clean the blood in the lab where they are keeping the new asset. They only have 20 minutes to clean the floor. Elisa splashes a bucket of water on the floor, and Strickland's fingers come out from under a shelf. Elisa packs them in a bag to send to the hospital with him. Elisa goes near the asset and discovers that the asset is a fish-like humanoid creature. Inside the vessel, he was about to arrive near her when the door opened and 2 moved away. Later, she shares about it with Giles, telling him that the creature is alive. Giles also shares his experience of meeting a mermaid once. He then went to eat the pie again at that restaurant. Giles is working on an ad design for a Jell-O product for the company that he used to work for before being suspended, apparently because of a drinking problem. He talks to the head, Bernie, to take him back as he left the drinking habit and wants to work seriously. Elisa becomes fascinated by the creature and starts sneaking into the lab to spend time with it. She goes there with her food and feeds it hard-boiled eggs. Later, Strickland calls the ladies in his office and interviews them. He asks questions to Zelda first and then Elisa. He asks about his fingers and then warns them to stay away from that creature who is offensive. He brought him there from South America and does not like him much. He orders them to leave the lab as soon as cleaning it. He also informs us that a creature is an image of God. Strickland goes to his home, where it is revealed that he is married with 2 young children, whom he does not seem to show any attention to. They try to talk to him, but he doesn't answer much, and they leave for school. His wife gave him breakfast and went upstairs. In the room, he tells her that he wants to buy a new car, but she ignores his desire and gets intimate with him. While making out, his fingers bleed and keeps her wife quiet when she informs him. The next night, Elisa again arrives in the lab secretly with her food. She also brings a music device and eats food after playing music. She begins teaching sign language to him. She started getting attached to him. He now starts talking to her in sign language. Meanwhile, it is revealed that a new doctor at the facility, Robert Hofstetler, is a Soviet spy named Dmitri. He meets with his bosses, who take him to a Russian-themed restaurant to discuss the asset. Hofstetler tells the men that he believes that and is intelligent. The bosses later give Hofstetler a poison to kill the creature to prevent the Americans from advancing their scientific. The next night, she went to see Asset but got upset to see him bleeding. She touches his body to see blood all over. She hides when she hears someone entering the lab. She sees Strickland's jacket and stick on the chair. Strickland enters the lab to torture the asset by zapping it with a cattle prod, merely to taunt it out of spite for his fingers. Strickland finds 1 egg on the floor and becomes suspicious. Meanwhile, Zelda was looking for Elisa outside. Meanwhile, Strickland's arrogant boss, General Hoyt, arrives at the lab with scientists. He wants to harvest the asset's body for space travel technology. Robert Hofstetler asks about creature's body's bleeding, but Strickland ignores it. He requests they not send the creature into space and send it back to water, which makes the boss furious. Elisa becomes fearful for the asset's safety and lets Giles know that she wants to help it. Giles doesn't think it's a good idea, but Elisa sees no difference between the creature and herself as they are both individuals who are unlike regular people, and she is worried that if she does nothing, she will die. She is angry and upset, and hits Giles when he doesn't understand her. She angrily explains to him why she wants to save him. Giles pays another visit to the pie shop. He starts a friendly conversation with Pie Guy until Giles reaches out to touch his hand, and the man reacts angrily. It gets worse when an African-American couple enters, and the racist and homophobic Pie Guy tells them they can't sit at the counter. Giles is also told to leave and not return, as it is a family restaurant. Giles, who is hurt and angry over being rejected and having to live his life in the closet out of fear in this homophobic society, decides to help Elisa break out the asset and uses his skills to decorate a van and make a fake ID for himself. Strickland goes to buy a new car. He sees different car models. He buys a green car and gets attention from ladies on the road. Meanwhile, Elisa faces an unpleasant situation with Strickland, who purposely spills a glass of water in his office, making her clean it up against her will. He then manhandles her, claiming that he is turned on by the fact that she is mute, and tells her that if she spends more time with him, he can make her squawk. Elisa gets scared and leaves. Elisa initiates their plan by turning cameras away from the enclosure. Zelda sees her sneaking into the facility. Later, she discusses the plan with Gilesm. She sneaks the asset into a laundry hamper and wheels it away while Giles drives into the facility. Zelda is leaving work but realizes what Elisa is up to. At the same time, Hofstetler is also preparing to take action, apparently to carry out his orders, but he discovers Elisa's plan and decides to help her. He cuts off electricity using a bomb gadget and injects a guard with a syringe. Strickland rushes to the exit but is too late. Helped by Zelda and Hofstetler, Elisa gets the creature inside the van, and Giles drives them away. They break Strickland's new car in the process. Elisa takes the creature to her place and houses it in her bathtub with the substances Hofstetler provided, along with salt to maintain its well-being. When she goes to work the following night, Strickland interrogates her and Zelda, but doesn't believe they could have been responsible. As she leaves, Elisa signs a bad word to Strickland, which Zelda translates as "thank you." While Giles is tending to the asset, he falls asleep. The asset gets out of the tub and sees one of Giles's cats. The cat snarls at the creature, and it responds with a growl before tragically ending the cat's life. Giles sees this and frightens the asset. It runs out, scratching Giles's arm. Upon Elisa's return, Giles informs her of the incident. She rushes out to search for it and discovers the creature in the cinema located below the apartments. She brings it back upstairs and tends to it. The asset touches Giles's head and arm, and it starts to glow a blue color. In the morning, Giles discovers hair on his head, where there previously was none. The cut on his arm is also completely healed. Elisa and the asset grow closer, and they have a bestial makeout in the bathroom. Elisa goes as far as flooding the bathroom to create a space for them to swim together. However, this action results in a leak into the theatre. Consequently, the theatre owner compels Giles to open the door and release the water. She eventually plans to free the asset into a canal with rainwater flooding it. Elisa grows more attached to the asset, even imagining a scenario where she is in an old-timey musical number singing about her love for him. Meanwhile, General Hoyt visits the facility to chastise Strickland for losing the asset and gives him 36 hours to find it. Hofstetler's superiors realize that he did not eliminate the creature. Despite this, they decide to spare Hofstetler temporarily, informing him that he will be taken back to Russia in 2 days. On the day that Elisa plans to release the asset, Zelda comes over and sees that its scales are peeling off, and they are out of the chemicals from the facility. They plan to take the asset away that night. Strickland follows Hofstetler to his rendezvous point, where he always meets his bosses. They shoot Hofstetler repeatedly, but before they can finish him off, Strickland shows up and kills them first. He grabs Hofstetler by the bullet hole in his cheek and tortures him to give up the asset's location. Strickland believes he is hiding it for other Soviet spies. With his dying breath, Hofstetler laughs at Strickland and does not reveal any name or location, saying they are clean. Strickland later visits Zelda's residence to question both her and her spouse, Brewster, in detail. Growing more mad and delusional, he tears off the 2 fingers on his hand that hadn't healed after being reattached. Zelda is silent, but Brewster tells him that Elisa has the asset. Following Strickland's departure, Zelda reprimands Brewster before reaching out to Elisa to alert her about the situation. She and Giles take the asset away before Strickland shows up. He enters Elisa's place without permission and notices the message on her calendar, which indicates she plans to bring the creature to the canal. Elisa and Giles bring the asset to the canal. They say their goodbyes to the creature, but it signs to Elisa that they are together forever. She responds that he must go without her. Strickland arrives and hits Giles in the face before shooting both the creature and Elisa. Thinking he just won, Strickland turns to leave but gets whacked in the face by Giles. The asset revives itself and heals its bullet wounds. Strickland is amazed and refers to the creature as a god before it cuts Strickland's throat with its sharp claws. Just as the police arrive, the asset takes Elisa into the water as Giles and Zelda, who just arrived, watch them. The creature, underwater, kisses Elisa, using its restorative abilities to bring her back to life and granting her gills in place of the scars on her neck. The two hold each other, as Giles's voice suggests that the two of them could now be together.